Control surface details. We're going to start this time around by using our modeling toolkit. Before we can access that, we need to turn our surface of the control into a live object. The first thing we would do, go into pCube1 by selecting it. Go ahead and rename it Control. Once done, you're going to right click and go into object mode. Then go all the way to the top, and you were going to make this object live by clicking on this magnet. You would see that our polygon name will appear here, and now this will be a live surface. Now we can access our modeling toolkit by clicking on this option. Transform constraint should be set to live surface, and now go ahead and click on quad draw. Now we're ready to start working. Zoom in and then start by adding dots in our surface. This tool will allow us to create mesh that will lay on top of the surface selected. If you hold down Shift, you would see that Maya will give us different options to create polygons. Go ahead and click there. We're going to go around and create an entire loop. If you wish to move some of these points, just hover over them, click and drag. If you hold down Control, it will give you a nice loop that will go around. Go ahead and click that in place. Then let's connect a few more polygons. And if you want to remove any unwanted points, you can hold down Control Shift and click. We can then maybe come down here, just add a couple of more points, somewhere along those lines. That looks good. Whenever you feel happy with your product, actually I'll just add maybe one more over here. Whenever you're happy with your product, you can just click away or select your move tool. You will now see how this object will create topology based on the objects that you created. I can now go into vertex and keep manipulating this however I see fit. Once I'm happy with my object, I can now go into object mode and I can mirror this object. Before mirroring the object, you want to make sure that all the vertices are actually snapped to the center line. So let's go ahead and move this just like so. In order for you to snap the vertices to the grid, you can always come to this option here with the magnet, select it, and this will allow you to manipulate further those vertices. Once done, you can click that off. You can right click, go to object mode, go into mesh, and then mirror as we mirror this object, you can reset tools, make sure the mirror axis is set to X, and then direction to positive. Go ahead and click apply. At this point, let's go and delete history and also freeze transformations. Now we can extrude this object to give it a little depth. You can hide your controller. Go to the edges, select that loop. I'll repeat the same on this other side by holding down Shift. And now moving that inwards. Grab the middle loop and then move that outwards. Go to object mode, press 3 and see your results. Right now things are looking pretty soft as far as round edges. Let's go ahead and sharpen those up by using our edge loop tool. Remember to repeat the same process for both sides. Same thing we're going to do with this middle piece. I'm going to add some edge loops. One over there, one at the top, and maybe one at the bottom. Go ahead into object mode, press number 3, and see your final results. You can always select your vertices and move them slightly outwards to create different effects. Scale those in a bit. Maybe move the vertices here just a little higher as well. Another thing that you can do to make things look slightly sharper would be to select the faces on the back side and then go manually and delete them. Go through this process carefully, as it can be easy for you to delete faces that you actually need without wanting. So take your time, do not rush it. All right, that's pretty good. Let's go ahead and bring back our controller. This piece I might need to actually move back a bit. Let's take the vertices, just move them down slightly. Move them accordingly so that it actually look like they're laying on top of the control. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Save your progress. Now we're gonna go and look for our screw. Duplicate that, Shift P to get it out of the current group. Rotate it 90 degrees on Z. I'll also scale this down. Make sure it's on the surface. Rotate it accordingly. Duplicate that. Send it to the other side. Just like so. Let's duplicate this one more time. And now let's bring it to the back. Let's turn that around minus 90 degrees. Well, minus 180 degrees on Y. And then put it in place. There we go. That's looking pretty good. Up next, let's add more detail. So maybe a little screen. Let's extrude this about 3 times. I find that it's easier to do the extrusions when you are not in the smooth. So just be mindful of that, somewhere along those lines. Let's see how that looks. All right, looking pretty good. And lastly, let's create an on and off switch. We can do so by creating a poly pipe. So go to create, polygon primitives, go to pipe. Let's go ahead and turn it 90 degrees on X, and then let's rotate this 45 degrees on Z. Now go to the inputs and let's change the subdivision axis to 4, the radius to maybe 1.2, the thickness, let's change that to 0.3, and the height, let's change that to 0.5. Now we'll push that back so that it lays on the surface, just like so. Probably scale that down. Move it up slightly. Let's bevel the edges. So I selected both of those loops, then go into Edit Mesh, Bevel. Change the fraction to, let's see, 0.1. Now for the switch, let's create a polycube. Once you create the cube, let's go into the inputs, change the width, height, and depth to 0.48. Let's go with the subdivision width and change it to 12. In this front face, we'll be selecting the edges and select every other edge. Go ahead and now bring those down, just like so. Change it to object mode, move it into place. Scale it up or down as needed. Now, if I click away, you'll notice that we will not be able to really see the details there. So therefore, what we can do is select the object, then go into Mesh Display, Harden Edge. When you click there, you would see that now those ridges will be much more noticeable, and our switch on and off will be completed. To finish things up, let's go ahead and add the antenna. Add a polycube, move it into place, make the proper adjustments by scaling the box, then go into face, extrude, let's move that in, extrude one more time, move that inwards, extrude one more time, and move that upwards. You can extrude one more time after that if you wish, then extrude inwards. Go to object mode, you can press number 3, see how that looks, scale it up a bit, and at this point we're ready to bring in our antenna. So go into your outliner, search for the antenna, duplicate it, Shift P, and bring it to the controller. I'm going to modify it and center that pivot. Once that's done, you can adjust your cube by using the vertices. Probably just select those. And then scale those in. Make sure to readjust the antenna if needed. Press 3 when done.